Dinosaur. Dinosaur man. Where'd he come from? 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 Dinosaur man.
Hello and welcome to Dinosaur Man News and Reviews. I'm Andy Hughes. I'm here with Alex Hudson.
Greetings. It's after dark.
Greetings.
Everything's after dark these days.
Yeah, there's no light.
Although recently I think we've been good at recording during daylight hours, but now the vampires are outside our window and we gotta record.
Got a little bit later tonight, guys, and there's a guy chewing on my neck.
So if you hear a knocking at the door, it's just a vampire asking to be invited in.
Nom nom nom, your neck is beautiful.
Politest monster.
Well, you have to invite him in, don't you?
Exactly, politest monster. Frankenstein. Straight through that door.
He's going through the wall.
Uh-huh.
Werewolf.
Werewolf
We'll pretend
chimney.
it's a dog. You go to pet it and it's like, oh, got you.
Werewolf chimney.
Like, there's nothing worse. But
Creature from the Black Lagoon, sink. And mummy medicine cabinet in the bandages.
Oh, okay.
Or toilet paper.
What, you just like put it in and you're like, hold on, what, this is like a very big toilet holder.
Mm-hmm. Exactly
like,
right.
You think it's one of those like, what are they called? Doilies or something? Like, did your grandparents ever have the things that you put over the toilet rolls that are like women in dresses?
So
and the dress goes
one of my grandmothers did.
My nan had it.
Which she probably still does, I don't know. No, she wouldn't have.
But yeah.
I think she got to the 21st century and realised, I've got to change.
Yeah, my gran didn't.
Do you think there were a whole generation of grandparents who got to the 21st century and just went, I need to sort this shit out immediately because I've got some right old 20th century nonsense going on here.
Do you think we'll get to like a point in time where we're like, oh God, what are we?
I'm at it now.
Yeah?
TikTok is exploded.
Yeah, but you're into TikTok.
I'm on TikTok now.
Yeah.
Officially.
You only do dances to TikTok by Kesha, though.
Yeah, I am world famous TikToker.
You're a TikTok on TikTok. That's your username, isn't it?
That's right. I'm at official TikTok.
You're also dressed as a clock. You're like TikTok TikTok on TikTok.
I do like time related TikTok dances.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, I'm not on TikTok.
So he says.
I'm seeing if it's free.
What, TikTok on TikTok?
I'm just seeing if I'm able. No, if it's free to do TikTok. Yeah, it is. It's free.
It's also anyone can do it.
Short form videos.
You only do it if you can pay. Okay.
Okay, so what would you say the primary genres of TikTok are? There's three.
Romance.
No.
Thriller.
No.
Cyberpunk.
Yes. So it's cyberpunk, dance, comedy, and education. There were four. Education.
Well, they're trying to sell themselves as being a platform where you can learn stuff.
Who's getting taught in 3 to 60 seconds? I'm sure there's a fucking college paper out there. Actually, research states that your best learning is done in short bursts of between 3 and 60 seconds. Go fuck yourself, Harvard Journal.
Professor TikTok.
Timothy Talk. Tim Talk.
I know your game.
Fucking bullshit. Available in 40 languages. Isn't it just available in whatever language you record it in?
Yes, all of them.
I suppose operational languages. So if you are from Burkina Faso, do you have TikTok in your language? What's the official language of Burkina Faso, do we think?
If you are a Latin speaker, like you only speak Old Latin, do you have TikTok in your language?
Good question. Hang on, did you say Old Latin?
Yeah.
Good old Latin.
Good old Latin.
Classic Latin. Not Diet Latin or New Latin or Latin Max.
Latin that your granddad used to know.
Citizens of Burkina Faso speak French, traditionally.
Yes. Yes.
So, actually, you're learning on here as well. So this is a platform for education.
And we did it in longer than 60
education,
seconds.
Check. Comedy, we're working on it. And the other one, dance. I always dance.
What you don't realise, he just dabbed.
That's not dabbing isn't a dance.
He put some ketchup on his head and a little dab of ketchup.
Yeah.
Still working on that comedy, guys.
You're a moron. Okay, so
Welcome to the podcast, guys. The only podcast that talks news and reviews.
Shouldn't record after dark. We've learned that now the hard way.
This week's news.
Yes, we got four films to review today. Lots of new things. Uncle Frank, Happiest Season, Hillbilly Elegy, and Arkansas, which is from March, so don't even worry about that one.
I said this week's news, and you reeled off the reviews.
Oh, sorry.
This week's news, guys. Are we going to be ready for Brexit?
Education, still working on it. And you're going to talk about 2 episodes of Mando.
Yes, because I didn't see
For Mando Watch.
Mando the week before. So
Don't do it now. I know I said it, but that was like an example of the theme tune.
But before we get to all of those reviews, and before we get to that really important news, that really Brexit Britain news, this week...
You know what? I say remain.
Well, brave
Wow.
for you to take this stance.
I actually think remain, guys.
Hold on, I'm just getting a phone call. Hi, is that Boris? Oh, nice to meet you. We're changing the result of the referendum because it was swayed by 1 vote. That's all we needed.
I did vote leave last time.
You've taken one off, put it on the other, and it's like, oh, the seesaw's balanced.
Am I a variety of lettuce? Because I'm remain.
I didn't have any
Comedy achieved.
There was
tick.
There was
TikTok.
a clicking in my brain where it's like, you can think of something else to follow that with. It's like, nope.
And then you just went, Little Gem. Bad lettuce.
Also,
Okay.
Great Indian Chief.
Okay. Best lettuce.
Lettuce.
Wow.
The iceberg.
Iceberg. Iceberg? You think
did a
iceberg is
karate
best
chop.
lettuce?
Yeah. Goes with everything.
It goes with everything.
Name something iceberg lettuce doesn't go with.
Well, it's just that iceberg lettuce is, for me, is too wet.
Well, don't put it underwater then.
Oh,
Don't soak
okay.
it like...
I've been submerging it in soups. But it does go with everything you said.
It goes with anything.
Does it go with soup?
Yeah, sure, on the side. Side of
Side
iceberg.
of lettuce. Tomato soup with a side of iceberg. Freshly sliced.
It's just a classic. Like, it's not,
I think it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's too wet.
The problem with you is you're like, oh, everyone eats iceberg. Like, even the plebs know about iceberg.
Oh, you think this is a snobbery thing?
This is a snobbery thing. You're like, I only want to talk about, some undiscovered Papua New Guinea lettuce.
Yeah, I'm always going down to Papua New Guinea to discover lettuce. Jesus Christ.
There you are in your shorts and your explorer's hat down the lettuce mines, just like, dig up that lettuce for me, boys. I'm taking it home with me.
Do you remember at the start of the
call it
episode when you
blood
said
lettuce.
nice and breezy?
They call it blood lettuce, guys.
Saying breezy? So hang on. It's now the film Blood Diamond, except I am the Leonardo DiCaprio character and I'm searching for lettuce.
The other guy who
Odds guide to be a good lettuce we're going to find here.
You're the guy who owns the mine and is like, please, sir, will you put our wages up by literally just an extra coin? And you're like, no, get me the lettuce.
Hang on, so I'm the guy who runs the mine like that? Yeah. Hang on, but am I the guy who's going to the guy saying,
you are
please put our wages
Christopher
up?
Walken's character in Welcome to the Jungle, where he's got guys with whips who whip the people and he's like, oh, you don't get any money if you ask for more.
Okay, can I just tell you one thing that I had in my head? I thought you said Christoph Waltz, and I thought when you said Welcome to the Jungle, you meant Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. And I was like, I've seen that film. I didn't remember that Christoph Waltz was in it. And also, whipping is slightly too, I think, hardcore for a fun family romp. What's Welcome to the Jungle about?
Welcome to the Jungle is Sean William Scott and The Rock go to find the
diamonds.
No, this kind of ancient statue that will bring prosperity to the region, and Christopher Walken is trying to hunt them down.
Why have we entrusted that mission to Sean William Scott?
Well, Sean William Scott discovers where it is and goes hunting for it. Like he's an explorer. Okay, but he's also a liability.
Yeah,
and
I could have told you that.
His job is to get Sean William Scott and take him back home to America to his dad.
Good episode so far, this is, isn't it?
Really good film.
We're covering
really
a lot of ground
good
here.
film, guys. I love it. What I was going to say...
Minus 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
No.
It says Metacritic cannot be rated.
Yeah, but guys, we all know we don't trust Rotten Tomato scores here.
This is true. We never do because famously they said that Paul Blart was only a 99 out of 100 when we all know it's 100.
But guys,
There's always that one sour apple to ruin the Blart pie.
before we get to that movie
Blart
reviews,
pie. Yum, yum.
before we hit that movie news, we must first take a little jaunt
Yes.
down the alleyway.
Let me load up PCGamer.com.
That is gaming.
Okay. Bungie boss says that the studio has been working on new games for 3 years. They've been around for longer than 3 years. I'd hope they've been working on new games for all of the time, actually.
Did you pick this article just so you can make that joke?
Bungie has been working on several new games for 3 years now, according to Pete Parsons. Good name. Solid name.
Superhero name, I think.
Yeah, it says here, I am Spider-Man?
Peter Parsons, also known as the amazing game developer.
Asked
he
about
develops
Bungie.
games at the speed of 3 years.
Asked about Bungie's January 2019 split with publisher Activision, which, while high profile, was seemingly amicable. Parsons said that the studio's consistent desire is for creative independence. Obviously, that means control of Destiny 2, obviously. Everyone who thought that didn't mean control of Destiny 2. I don't fucking know what that is.
There's a line in this article that says, Pete Parsons then ran outside, took down the robber, handed him into the police, and then came back and finished off the interview.
It's not a huge surprise that the studio has other projects in the works. It filed a video game software trademark in the EU for Matter in 2018. So look out for Matter coming out soon, guys.
Haven't they just rejoined with Microsoft, Bungie? Because aren't they the guys who did all the Halos?
Yes, there's the news that they may be taken over by Microsoft again. Yeah. And this time bought out entirely by
Coming home to Daddy. Big Daddy Microsoft.
John, any more information? Hey, Pete Parsons. Also, Jason Jones.
Okay, are you sure they didn't just go to like the the Hall of Heroes?
Hang on, and also Johnny Jebbert and Zach Russell. Okay, two of those aren't real.
Pete Parsons.
Trinity
Zach Russell is great.
It also says Pete Parsons also said that M.E. Chung, who's the designer. Oh, no, sorry, it says M.E. Chung.
Mimi Chung.
M.E. It's a code.
What do these numbers
It's
mean?
leading us to the
3,
Statue of Liberty.
7, 11.
The number 23.
Well, I can't remember the other numbers in Lost.
Isn't it interesting that the number 23, the film, was about the Miley Cyrus Mike Will Made It song 23?
It is.
And that in turn was about, obviously, Michael Jordan.
Do you think there is somebody...
Do you think that song is about Michael Jordan, or do you think it's about a sex act? Because I feel like it might be something a bit raunchier.
I was going to say...
Yes.
Do you think there's somebody who every single week puts on lottery numbers, which are the numbers from Lost?
Ooh.
And do you think that they're ever going to win?
Oh, well, could we introduce the thing where we do lottery numbers every week?
Yeah.
Okay, like 472.
Yep.
90,002. A lot of twos in here so far.
Yep.
Triangle.
Yep.
Curtain rod, and I think like Peking duck.
We got a house. Hey, Hugh Laurie.
We got a house. Oh my god.
I've got lupus.
It's not always lupus. Thanks, Hugh Laurie.
Bye, Hugh Laurie.
Remember how his American accent was so good?
I like how you became Jack Nicholson. I mean, he became Jack Nicholson for a second. Guys, I'm sorry. This is all over the place. Shall we go to movie news?
Never apologise for the quality of the podcast, because we'll never get anything done. Yes, movie news. Slow news week this week.
I hope you enjoyed all that gaming news.
Because there's no real news.
No.
I've
not even played anything this week.
Godzilla vs. Kong may be the next major movie to land a streaming deal. with HBO Max likely being the recipient. Warner Brothers Pictures negotiated have been negotiating some sort of deal for Godzilla versus Kong, rather. Mm-hmm. Netflix have made an offer reportedly of over $200 million for the film.
201 Dalmatians.
It's $200 million and literally $1. It's like the Luis Suarez bid.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good bit of reference.
The football fans are cheering because that's all they ever do.
But Warner Media is instead looking to grab the movie in order to send it to HBO Max. So, yes, Warner Brothers Pictures would still be selling the film to Warner Media because they're two separate entities, so the finances have to be exchanged.
Yeah.
But there is some discussion about whether they are going to be able to get a better deal. So, for instance, if it was £200 million and £1, as we suspect, that would have only covered 75% of the film's budget. Oh, this is an expensive film. Guys.
Do you think they thought that Godzilla King of Monsters was going to do more as well?
Yes, probably. Well, okay, so this is where the interesting thing comes, is that Warner Brothers Pictures would still release the movie in China if that was the case, because Netflix isn't in China, so they would still release it cinematically in China, presumably. So that would then hopefully benefit them. But it may well still be that it gets released in China cinematically, because if it goes to HBO Max is only available in, I think, still one territory, maybe. So that's the problem at the moment. So it may well do the similar thing that they've done with Wonder Woman and do a sort of staggered, tiered release and differ it for international markets. I mean, look, are you going to see this movie?
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I think Skull Island was great and the first Godzilla is great, but the problem is King of Monsters is uneven and at times is good and times bad. So it depends. We still see nothing of this film, which is crazy. And I guess this is why, because they don't even know how they're getting that film out there.
It's incredible that King of Monsters made $386 million. Mm-hmm. That's nothing.
No, and cinemas
for a movie that cost $200 million.
Guys, I know what you're thinking, but cinemas were open when that came out.
Yeah, like the first Godzilla, $525 million. Kong Skull Island, $566 million. And then King of Monsters, $386 million. Like that's a huge drop off.
They tried to do so much with that film, it failed. I sat in an empty IMAX screening, I had it pretty much to myself.
Mm-hmm. You had booked every seat, though.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was most of that $300 million.
Yeah, it says here, widely credited to one idiot. So you're going to see this movie?
Yeah. Like, cool. I like Godzilla, and I like King Kong. Put them together.
Ergo, you will hate this, because two rights don't make a wrong. Wait, no. Surely that would be the case. They do make a wrong. Anyway, Boss Baby 2 had a trailer this week. Are we excited for this? So this is the sequel to the animated, I'm presuming, smash hit, if they made a second one, The Boss Baby, which came out in...
Did enough to get a TV show.
2017, 2018. New babies, same problems.
Alec Baldwin is still a baby.
Yeah.
Well, he's not. So the direction this has gone is Alec Baldwin is now grown up. And his brother has had a baby.
Yes. And that baby is in the family business. And the family business is being a talking baby. Mm-hmm. Is that just like the thing? Is that look, okay, I'm going to tell you something now. I didn't see The Boss Baby.
Guys, I know what you're thinking. At least one of them saw The Boss Baby. I'm sorry to break this.
Andy saw The Boss Baby.
Turn that Band-Aid off. I didn't see Boss Baby either.
Okay, so we can only hypothesize. So I think...
I've been pretending to be the Boss Baby's biggest fan for the last few years. Yeah. You know, I got that t-shirt saying, Boss Baby's boss. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately...
I think plot of first Boss Baby, if I had to guess, baby Bruce Springsteen. And this is going to be like... Okay,
if I had to guess, it's a baby that only plays Boss Nass.
Okay. I actually think for the Boss Baby
Bossa
family...
Nova? Is that a music?
What?
Bossa Nova?
Yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah, it's a type of music.
Cool,
yeah.
Guys, I did it.
Good.
I did it. It's what I was going to go with the first time, and I lost confidence.
Remember how Brave New World is a book?
I lost
Still funny from
confidence
last
in
week. So Boss Baby Family Business. This trailer is a lot.
He's a boomer.
Well, they're both boomers, clearly. I don't want to see this movie. Will you see it for the pod?
No.
Okay.
I didn't watch the first one for the pod.
Well, in that case, we will never report on Boss Baby Family Business ever again.
Or maybe we will.
Also,
I'm not going to say we won't.
what else? 21 Jump Street. Yes, so the female-led spin-off that has been reported, I think we reported it last year when they started floating it, has been given a new title. Instead of being 24 Jump Street, is going to be called Jump Street, I believe. Is it going to be called Jump Street Now for Her Pleasure? Yes.
Yeah.
No numbers, just Jump Street Now for Her Pleasure. Funny line because of, condoms
What?
being ribbed for her pleasure.
No, I don't get it.
Okay. So, when a man and a woman love each other very much, / encounter each other drunk in a bar.
Okay.
If they're drunk in a bar, often things go out the window
So in
anyway. So,
love.
okay. If a man and a woman are being very careful about things,
Yeah.
they might wear something to ensure that they don't have a boss baby.
Okay. Full body hazmat suit.
Yes. And you can get them ribbed or smooth. Or little bubbles. So, choose wisely is what I would say.
I think that's what I have.
Because when two adults rub against each other, a little boss baby comes out.
Ooh, scary. It's like setting a fire.
Yeah, and he goes, okay, now I'm in the family business.
Now you need to get
It's
married.
Gilbert
You
Gottfried.
need to keep appearances.
It might have Tiffany Haddish in it, but also it might not have because she's not actually attached.
Okay.
She's been rumoured previously with Awkwafina. But it is being written, or has been written, by the writers for the recently confirmed Deadpool 3, the Molyneux.
That's the name of the people, not the subtitle to Deadpool 3.
Well, Wendy Molyneux and Lizzie Molyneux Logan. Loglin?
I like the Jump Street films. I think they're great fun.
I thought the first one was fine.
I think the second one's a lot of fun as well, though.
And that's
They do
why
it all again.
this podcast
It
works.
has it has one of the best end credits kind of title cards, where it basically plots out the sequels from this point forwards.
Didn't guess 24 Jump Street being females.
It probably was.
So the plot of this is... It's been reported that the film will focus on an adult police officer going undercover as a teacher.
What?
And another one going undercover as a student.
Are they going to cut some corners here and do that Kevin Hart goes back to school, night school or whatever it's called,
Yep.
where Tiffany Haddish was his teacher, and they're just going to put that on screen again, but they're going to put in a little bit where she goes, I'm a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see night school, so I don't know how that planned out.
Columbia Pictures president Sanford Panich told Variety, "We have had enough male buddy comedies." I'll fucking preach to that, mate. The script is really funny and has a freshness to it.
Yeah.
Lemon zesty freshness. Someone's wiped it with a bit
Taz
of... What?
from Space Jam. Like, so whenever somebody says lemony fresh, my mind always goes to the bit in Space Jam where Taz in Tasmania, he cleans the entire sports hall and he spins around and then he gets back and he stops in front of Michael Jordan and goes, lemony fresh.
And Arsenal bid £40,001 for Luis Suarez in 2014. Those references are both equally relevant, I feel.
Everyone knows Space Jam.
Does everyone know Space Jam? I would be interested to see who actually does know Space Jam. If you know Space Jam, tweet at us, at DinosaurMan15, hashtag I know Space Jam. And if you don't, then hashtag I don't Space Jam.
And guys, tune into my new podcast called I Know Space Jam, where every week I tell you that I know Space Jam. Each episode, one line long.
So, moving on. What else have we got? Is that it?
I don't know, maybe. There's,
Yeah.
Guys, it was a really slow news week.
Slow news week.
Like,
Hey, you know it hasn't been a slow news week. Hashtag Mundo Watch. Because there's been controversy. Do we talk about it because of spoilers, though?
I'll talk about it when I talk about the second episode.
I'm going to say this. Is it spoilers if it happened?
Well, it's not spoilers because it's...
Is it spoilers if it happened?
What do you mean, like, in history?
Yeah.
Like, you don't talk about the world wars because you're like, I can't give spoilers
like I've
away.
been avoiding telling anyone who won World War II, just in case I haven't caught up with it yet. Because if they're only on World War One, I don't want to ruin the sequel.
Somebody puts Downfall on you, like, no, I've not seen this yet.
Wait, no, I have. I'm up to date. But what if they're not?
I see.
Like, they might start Downfall being like, this Hitler guy might actually pull this off.
The heist of the century.
Yeah, and they refer to him as this Hitler guy.
He's there. He's got...
Is it any wonder that this podcast sometimes goes off the rails? This is nutty. This is proper nutty
I was
stuff.
just thinking, what if in Downfall, Don Cheadle was in it doing his English accent still?
What?
Because it's Ocean's 11.
Oh, okay.
Like a heist.
Sorry. That was such a... Because I was there like, did he also do an English accent in a film that was similar to Downfall?
Basically, what happened there was...
And then I had to check, was Don Cheadle secretly in Downfall?
You said, what if he pulls it off? So my mind instantly went,
Okay.
he's doing a heist.
Yes.
And then I went,
Okay.
what if Don Cheadle was there?
Anyway, so Mando Watch, you've caught up on 2 episodes because last week we'd recorded before you'd seen episode 4.
Yes. So
Tell me about episode 4. Was
Episode
it good
4
Star Wars or bad Star Wars?
So I didn't think it was great. Like it was fun. Like this series is always good. It's just some episodes are great. It had probably the best Baby Yoda in it though. I actually showed you.
He ate a little biscuit.
Little macarons?
Yeah, he ate some macarons and then he threw up on himself. It was funny.
Yeah, I showed you only the bit of him flying and waving his arms.
Yeah.
Just because I knew that you would enjoy
I
it.
kind of wanted it to be funnier than it was, though.
You laughed a lot.
Just because he's cute as hell.
You laughed until you sicked.
It was blue sick. That was a weird thing.
Yeah, you hadn't eaten anything blue, which was even more concerning.
Okay, so it had good Baby Yoda,
yeah,
but overall it's an episode.
This one was actually directed by Carl Weathers as well, who was in this episode as well.
Yes.
And
it was just one long shot on Carl Weathers' face, and everyone went, direction, a little bit strange on this one, Carl.
But yeah, it had like nice moments. Like it had nice moments of like saying, kind of setting up where the story's going to go. But it also had kind of an idea of almost linking it back into kind of the Empire as this thing that exists in the universe, and how do people deal with that fact after. So this is now set after Return of the Jedi. Like, how does the universe still cope when the Empire basically fell? And how do they still kind of cling on to these kind of dark corners of the universe?
Star Trek. Klingon.
But yeah, so I think there was nice stuff in there. I just thought it wasn't as kind of exciting as some of the others. But then episode 5 is some of the best Star Wars I've seen.
Wow.
So this one introduces what's her face? What's her name?
Ahsoka.
Yeah, but what's the actress's name?
Oh, Rosario Dawson.
Couldn't put it.
Okay. I'm not going to be able to pull the whole name of the character.
Dawson as Ahsoka, who is a character that's in Rebels
and Clone Wars,
from what I
think.
understand. Now, I've never seen any of those, but I've seen this character before. Like, I've seen a picture of her before. And this is kind of like her in live action.
Were you upset because something wasn't quite right?
So I was there just like, this is great. Like, the opening to this episode is almost akin to a horror film. Like, it's so well done. And it's really inventive, and it's just really great to see. And I loved it. And then the episode is pretty, like, there's a bit of a lull in the middle, but then it kind of picks up at the end as well. And she's great. Like, she looks great, and she performs it really well. And it's really great to see this character.
What about her stance?
builds
Would you
up
say
to-
she's too stiff and upright?
Well, I'll get on to this. So it
I'm
builds,
just building in little
it builds
nuggets.
to like a really interesting ending where you know, information is given to the audience of like a name that, like, if you know Star Wars, and this is like the only time where I've got a reference because I've heard of this character before.
Baby Yoda.
And it's the first time, like, 'cause most of the time, I didn't even know who Ahsoka is, to be honest. And I had to be informed who she is afterwards, as always. But it was the first time I was like, oh, this is going to be really exciting for Star Wars fans. But also, like, I'm really enjoying this episode, and I think it's great. So yeah, I think it's probably the best episode of the series so far. Probably both series as well. Like, I think it's just really well put together. And like I said, that opening sells it for me. What did happen, though, is this morning I went on the comments under an article about why the length of Ahsoka's, what are they called? Lekus or something like that.
I was going to say tendrils, so yeah, go with lekus.
I think they're called lekus, which are like basically these kind of ear things or hair things that kind of come down over her shoulders, and why they're shorter in the series than they are in the animated series. And my God, some Star Wars fans are entitled.
I've actually got a theory about why they're shorter.
Yeah.
Cheaper to make, isn't it?
Well, that's probably the reason why, but people were like...
saving a few pennies on a few inches of tendrils.
There's people there arguing, like literally, people are arguing in the comments going, oh, well, it's because she's older, so she's taller, so it doesn't look as big. And other people are like, well, obviously, they don't care about the lore of the character. And it's sort of like, oh, she didn't know how to walk the same way. And I'm like... get over yourselves, guys. Like, just be happy that you've got this character. Like, I still haven't seen Gambit on screen. It doesn't count. I know what you're thinking, and it doesn't count.
Well, no, what I'm thinking is, if you're telling them to fucking get over themselves, you need to take a leaf out of your own fucking book then, because... my God, this podcast has just been, when's Gambit out? I'm not getting my Gambit. Hashtag not my Gambit.
Look, I tweet it 5 times a day, every day.
Stop the count.
Sees it.
You're aware of fan bases,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Like, I just had fun reading the comments because I just thought, like, I thought it was very well done.
Can I get right, this is going to be a new thing that we're going to do in the Mando Watch.
Yep.
Sorry, Mando Watch. What is your prediction for what happens next week?
So he's gone off
with... No. With... a specific relevance to the only character who I actually care about,
Okay.
Baby Yoda. What will he do that's funny?
He'll eat something because he...
Did he do anything funny in this episode?
Not really, no. Like this,
fucking
so this
what? And it's the best episode? I'm sorry.
He's in it, but it's less about a Baby Yoda, despite it also being... Baby Yoda being integral to the episode, so it's really weird.
So next episode better go heavy on the Baby Yoda.
Yeah, well, I think basically they gave us really funny Baby Yoda in the previous episode, so we could have less in this one and have more.
Too much of a good thing will ruin your appetite.
Exactly.
So
you
I
learned that
think
from eating those macarons.
Next episode eats a whole pie.
It's just a mukbang, and it's Baby Yoda.
It's a mukbang, a term that we discovered this week.
It's Baby Yoda with a bargain bucket from KFC, family one.
I think
Just
what he's going to
slowly
do
eating it.
is he's going to get like a classic sort of clown's cream pie, and he's just going to dunk his face into it, and then he'll come back up and he'll go.
I think he's going to throw it at Mando, and Mando's going to be like, "Oh, you cheeky little scamp!"
But Mando will catch it because he's expert. He'll throw it back at him, and he'll go tumbling down a hill with the pie attached to it. I'd watch that episode.
So, Dave Filoni, if you're listening, and I know you are,
it's not too late to do the rewrites. I'm sure the filming is still going on for episode 6 right now. Okay, anything else you want to say?
No, I really like it.
Okay, let's move on to actual reviews then, because we've got a lot to talk about today. So I'll zoom through a couple. Not branded content for the Zoom Corporation, by the way, guys. Arkansas is the directorial debut of Clark Duke, best known probably for, I guess, Hot Tub Time Machine and its sequel. So directed by Clark Duke and co-written. Yeah, the screenplay was co-written by him, based on the novel by John Brandon. So Arkansas is the tale of two sort of low-level operatives in a sort of regionalized drug ring, who become sort of enamored with a lifestyle that they would like for themselves once a tragic circumstance befalls their direct superior. And it's... it's a weird film because it kind of falls in two different camps, and I think there's some things about it which I think are relatively well done. It's got a feel to it that feels very sort of downplayed and low key, and I think that works for it. But it's treading very familiar ground, and it's not necessarily doing anything fresh with that ground. And it kind of feels like the funny parts aren't funny enough for it to be sort of a crime caper in the same way that something like Fargo is.
Okay.
And the actual reality of the situation isn't real enough for it to feel grounded in too many ways. It's got interesting, it's got a Hemsworth in it, Liam.
So, did you see Logan Lucky in the end?
No.
Okay, so my question is void.
Okay.
Basically, because that's the last kind of film that I saw that had that kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
And in times, Logan Lucky is a fun romp.
Yeah.
And I just wondered whether it's anything kind of...
I don't think this ever sets out to do the comedy stuff that Logan Lucky seemed to do from what I remember of your review of it. But what it does, it tries to give sort of earnest performances from Liam Hemsworth, Clark Duke, and then also Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn's fine in it. I don't think he's particularly... I don't think he's given anything particularly good to work with, so I would have been interested to see if the material was stronger, potentially would it have been a better film overall. But then again, if it's based on a novel, I've got to be led to believe that the novel is the problem, potentially. Either that or the adaptation is losing something. I mean, it's on Netflix now. It came out earlier this year. It actually says here, coming soon, releases on December the 15th, so I wonder if it's getting a cinematic release, potentially. It's a that'll do, Pig. It's not great. If you're into sort of those kind of films, it might do something for you. But again, I just feel like if it isn't really doing, it feels... At times it feels like a sub-Coen Brothers crime caper. And then other times, because it's never trying to be as funny as that, it kind of sits in this weird in-between, this no man's land of... I'm not quite sure what it is, but it doesn't ever seem to be achieving what it is.
Yeah.
Would not recommend? Yeah, would not recommend. But it's there if you want it.
Did you do the other one quickly?
Speaking of there if you want it, Hillbilly Elegy is the new Ron Howard film, which is on Netflix now, and is Amy Adams and Glenn Close's latest attempt to win their Oscars. So this is based on the best-selling memoir by J.D. Vance, and tells the story of J.D. Vance's childhood and adulthood. So the film is basically split between two different timelines, I suppose. So you've got present day J.D. Vance as a Yale student, and then it flashes back to his childhood. So it's a film that sort of is mostly interested in this exploration of the divide between rural and urban life within America specifically, and sort of the Appalachian ways of doing things. This kid sort of spent his summers in Kentucky, where his family were from, but lived in Ohio, so had two different experiences, and had, met these characters along the way who all struggled with various things, and his mother had various problems, and it meant that his grandmother was very much a big part of his upbringing. And it's a very showy film so the performances are really... I suppose when you're working with material where the vast majority of these flashbacks are all very sort of intense, shouty, there's a lot of angst and anguish going on at all times. It can feel a little bit overwhelming in terms of just the amount of yelling that is going on. And for me, if I'm looking at this and thinking, okay, are these good performances? I don't know. I don't think that they are. I think they are clearly performances, and that's the problem.
So, in a way, I just want to add another comparison in here.
Yeah.
shouting performances where shouting works. Uncut Gems.
Yes.
That entire film is people shouting at each other and nobody ever shuts up.
So those feel like people within that story.
Yeah.
These feel like actors within this story. And I think that's the difference.
Yes.
Is that this feels like you're not watching a family and their troubles and their travails. You're sort of watching actors doing their best to tell you this story about this family. And again, because it's based on this memoir, I don't know if it's a problem with the source material and there's not a way to adapt that works. Mm-hmm. But the flashbacks and the sort of narration just feels like every time it cuts back, I'm just not interested. And ultimately, it just didn't ever grab me. And it's come under some criticism for sort of simplifying the problems of poverty and things like that and the divide between rural and urban living. And I don't know that any of that's necessarily true. I just don't think it's a particularly good film. I think that's more the problem for me, is that I'm watching it, I'm going, it might get you an Oscar nomination. I don't know. Because it's that kind of thing that gets, it got Denzel Washington a nomination for Fences. But that felt like, again, I talked about that one feeling stagey. This one feels very actory in the same way that it just kind of feels like you're watching people and you're going, I wish that I cared. And it's subject matter where you kind of go, it's, there's addiction, there's recovery, there's a lot of stuff in there, and it's all based on true stuff. And it probably should be engaging. And the fact that it isn't is its biggest problem. And the fact that I'm supposed to think that this is engaging.
Yeah.
It never did it for me. So it's on Netflix now. It's called Hillbilly Elegy. I would not recommend.
Oh, I really thought that was anyone I would recommend.
Should we talk about Uncle Frank?
Yes, let's talk Uncle Frank.
So Uncle Frank is Amazon Prime Video. Released on Thursday this week, just in time for Thanksgiving. Yes. So this is Paul Bettany plays a college professor, Frank, who, due to a family tragedy, has to take a road trip with his 18-year-old niece back to their family home in North Carolina, I think it is, isn't it? From New York City. A place where he has been running from for seemingly all of his life, and no one's ever told his niece why. And she discovers early doors that he's gay, but the family don't necessarily know.
Yeah.
And it's about their road trip back and then confronting demons from the past. I really like this film. And I think there's a few things that we need to highlight here. I think the performances from the whole cast are really good. I don't think even the smaller roles that are cast, like Steve Zahn cast as his brother, I think is terrific. Judy Greer as Steve Zahn's wife in this is great.
Steve Zahn has 2 or 3 moments in this that are really impactful. And he doesn't do much, but it is almost, he feels like anybody who's got a brother feels real. And it happens 2 or 3 times. Stephen Root continuously does great things.
Margot Martindale as the mother, I think, is terrific. But particular focus on, I think Sophia Lillis is very good.
Yes.
But I think the real stars of the show here, Paul Bettany, I think, does magnificent work. But also Peter McDeesey, who plays Wally, is just...
Wally is a kind of breath of fresh air in this film.
Yeah.
Just this kind of wonderful character that seems so freeing and so real, and is almost necessary as this kind of balance to this quite stoic man of Frank.
Yeah,
that his partner is this quite free-willing,
and free-spirited person. And I think the best way to describe this is it feels like a more realistic Green Book. If that makes any sense at all, because they've both got a very similar dynamic of there is a road trip into the South, and it's not necessarily a place that is receptive towards a type of person. And as such, but I mean, I think there's more going on here than there is in Green Book, which is why I'm saying it's a more realistic one, because it feels like these are fully fleshed out people,
Yeah.
rather than just... Because I think the issue with Green Book ended up being that it sometimes felt like caricature,
Yeah.
whereas this never does feel like that. This feels like character
Well,
rather
there's a
than caricature.
wonderful thing that you can watch. Like, Paul Bettany does such a wonderful job of showing this man who is so in control of his life, but you can see the fear of his family.
Yeah.
And it's put out there for you to see, and it is beautiful to watch this really kind of powerful performance where it leaves you with no kind of second guessing of how he is going through the mill. And there's a really great moment, I think, when they get to the town that he lives in, and he has to book a room.
Yes.
And there's an exchange between him and Wally. And I think it's just a really, really nice moment of just seeing how this guy is affected by his situation. I think it's really beautifully done, and I think that there's a couple of things that I think I don't get. Like, there's a couple of camera techniques they use in this film that I don't really understand, where it's kind of like blurring the edges. I said it looks more like a fisheye effect, and it's used especially at one point in particular, and it just kind of made me question, like, why is that? I'm sure there's a reason that it was done. And I do think there is a bit in the middle kind of where I don't know, I don't want to say lulls because it doesn't. Like, the one thing I say about this film is I don't know how long it is.
It's about 95 minutes, I think.
But it seems brief. Like, it
is. I think it's well paced, but it's also, it's the length it needs to be, rather than... You know, you could make this film 2 hours or an hour and 3/4 easily.
Yeah,
by just padding it out. But it is the length that it actually needs to be, rather than being the length that someone else might deem it necessary to be. So I think it's really nice, and I think there's really good performances at the heart of it, which form the emotional core of that film.
Yeah.
And then everything else around it, I think, in terms of... So there's always this talk about ensemble casts and how important they are, particularly within films like this. If you're looking at an ensemble cast, this is one of the best ones you'll see all year, I think, just because everyone seems to be perfectly placed and does such a great job, and may only have 2 minutes of screen time in the whole film, but they do the job they need to do, and they do it to the level they need to do it. And I think... Yeah, I mean, it can be, it's a bit of an emotional heartstrings puller. But I think if you're looking for something that, again, much like Arkansas, it's not reinventing the wheel here. It's not doing anything particularly new with the story. You've seen this story before, and you know exactly where it's going to end up from the very beginning, I feel. But the stuff that happens along the way, that's the interesting stuff. And I think, it does a good job of that. And, it's a would recommend from me. It's on, it's on Amazon Prime, and it's called Uncle Frank. So you can find it there.
Absolutely worth seeking out.
Right, moving on. Final thing this week then, is Happiest Season. Which,
Christmas time, my friends.
Yeah, so we're rapidly approaching December, and it's worth noting that in December we're going to try and do some December-themed episodes, which we've talked about previously. So to get us in the mood, we decided to watch Happiest Season, which is directed and co-written by Claire Duval, and the other co-writer is Mary Holland, about a...
So it's a really interesting double bill, because we watched Uncle Frank and Happiest Season in the same night.
Yeah.
And actually they complement each other really well.
Yeah. So it's a young woman named Harper who is in a relationship with Kristen Stewart's Abby. So Mackenzie Davis plays Harper, and decides to invite Abby home with her for the holidays to meet her family. The only issue is Harper's family don't know that Harper is gay, and her dad is running for mayor, and therefore has to be seen to have this perfect family that he's been led to believe is exactly the way he sees it for his whole life, basically. And Thence the humour arises.
So yeah, she's basically told her family that this is my orphan friend who is straight.
Who can't, she feels too sorry for her to leave her alone for Christmas. So would it be okay if my orphaned roommate comes back with me for the holidays? But of course, she only tells Abby this while they're in the car on the way there, and it's too late to cancel. So again, if we are talking about, so it kind of ended up being a great double bill in a couple of ways, because thematically there's a lot of stuff here that is reflective of stuff in Uncle Frank, and obviously this is done in a more comedic, it's a holiday rom-com essentially.
Yeah.
But it's still touching similar subject matter in a different way, and I think that's kind of interesting. The other interesting comparison, I think, is ensemble casting. Mm-hmm. Both of these films have just a terrific ensemble cast, down to the smaller characters, know.
So the weird thing is, while Uncle Frank's ensemble cast works because they seem like real people, this works because they all are caricatures, really, but also play those caricatures really well.
Yeah. And I think there is, like, the family unit themselves are great, and everyone in that does their role really well. Dan Levy is great as the friend of Abby. And I think
there's a point in this film that is in the trailer, and I won't say what it is just in case you haven't seen the trailer. Because if you haven't seen the trailer, go into it blind. But I knew that it was going to happen. You didn't.
Well, the thing is, I'd seen the trailer. So I just don't know if I knew that was happening or whatever. Or, hey, it could be a trailer where a thing gets cut. But I had a genuine reaction to it.
And it was so good to see.
And so here's the thing, is that I think, again, it's another theme of this week. It's not necessarily reinventing the wheel. It's a holiday rom-com, and it comes with all of the sort of beats that normally comes with. What I really love about this over a lot of what mediocre holiday rom-coms is, there's just a freshness to it where the cast are just doing a great job and don't feel like, and I think the key difference is, I think I've seen a lot of holiday rom-coms that sort of lean into the sentimentality and the schmaltziness of it. And this doesn't do that. This doesn't necessarily lean into that.
No. In
the same way. It isn't afraid of having, I was speaking to my brother about it earlier, and I was saying, it's interesting because the comedy is a mix of very broad comedy, but then also quite sharp comedy at the same time. And there's a mix of it that means that you get to the point where you go, oh, this has kind of got something of everything in it. And I think the mixture works, because I think if it was a broad comedy for the whole thing, it would get tiresome and irksome.
Well, I said the interesting thing about it is that at the start, I thought this wasn't going to be for me.
Yeah.
Like, there's 2 or 3 jokes at the beginning. I was like, oh, is this kind of the jokes?
Yeah, in the first sort of 5 minutes.
Is this the kind of jokes it's going to be making the whole way through? And then it just got funnier and funnier and funnier. But then it also has a heart in the middle of it. Like, there's actually something there that is not just, oh, this comedy for comedy's sake. There's actually something there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that credit has to go to the writing. I think is really good, and I think it's a really strong script. But also getting very talented performers into your, casting this as well as you have. Everyone in this is just perfectly cast, I think.
Yeah.
And I can't think of, I was saying this to you earlier, I can't think of a film that I've laughed more at this year than this. And it's such a refreshing thing to go into a sort of Christmas rom-com that can notoriously be very hard-going just due to the fact that you've kind of seen it all before. And have one of the best times you've had watching a film this year. Really just enjoyable hour and 40 minutes or whatever it is. And it flies by. It's good fun. And I might well watch it again before Christmas because it was just that much fun.
Yeah, it's great. And the thing is, I think you said it yesterday when you said, the thing is, at the heart of it, it's a very good Christmas movie before it's anything else.
Yeah.
And sometimes, guys, we just need a little bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot's obviously been made of the LGBTQ storyline, and that's obviously great, and the representation is a wonderful thing. But it never loses sight of the fact that, well, first and foremost, it's got to work as a film, and it's got to work within that parameter of it is a Christmas rom-com. So it's got to do certain things to fit that template. but it can do it in a very original way and have a lot of fun while it's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of fun while I was watching it. And I would heartily recommend this. So you can buy it on pretty much any streaming platform now.
Yeah.
Or buy or rent. Happiest Season. I think it's a would recommend from me. It's been a good week, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you say that. We had 4 things, but half of them are bad, half of them are good.
Yeah, but I think, okay, so here's the other thing is that because I watched Hillbilly Elegy in the morning, and then I watched Uncle Frank, and then I watched Happiest Season, I think that's the correct way that I should have watched them.
Yeah.
Hillbilly Elegy got me very down because it's just a lot of yelling and everything seems very sad for a lot of good reasons, I'll be honest with you. But, the problem with that film was it was just too much of that. Uncle Frank has the uplifting stuff and it has the sweetness to it that I think it needs. And then Happiest Season is just a couple of hours of fun.
What I liked was Uncle Frank, I think, has this kind of hard kind of edge to it, that these performances of it kind of like a powerhouse performances.
Yeah.
And they are ones that like it can leave you a little bit like, while yes, it's uplifting, I think it can leave you a little bit kind of like, whew.
Yeah.
And Happiest Season was like this lovely little palate cleanser afterwards. Where I was like, I really enjoyed Uncle Frank, and now I'm really enjoying this, and now I feel good.
I think it's going to be a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
Happiest Season is going to be something that you could put on at Christmas, and people will enjoy
I'm
it.
tempted to show it to my parents at Christmas and be like, oh, this is a new Christmas movie. Do you want to watch it? Because my mum loves Christmas movies.
Yeah.
She loves Hallmark Christmas movies for some reason. And we'll watch any Christmas movie there is. And I'm there like, this is actually a new Christmas movie she hasn't seen, and it's good.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week, guys.
We did it.
So, that's it, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the end.
Find us on social media, guys. We are Dinosaur Man Podcast on Facebook.
Yeah.
On Instagram, Twitter, it's Dinosaur Man 15. We're on YouTube. Basically, subscribe wherever you find your podcasts.
And listen to us however you want.
Yeah, Johnny Neves did the theme song.
Yes.
This week it had sleigh bells behind it.
Oh my God, Christmas is here.
Time for Christmas.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Alex, for hosting.
Thank you, Andy, for hosting.
And guys, until next time.
It's beautiful that we share this moment, isn't it? This moment of
Come
hosting.
back and meet my parents this Christmas.
Dinosaur.